We're reading Women Who Broke the Rules, Sonia Sotomayor by Kathleen Krull. Chapter 6, An Electric Current. It seemed that the White House was trying to reach her. When she got inside her car, she called the number she'd been given. "My heart skipped a beat," she said. At age 54, she was one of President Barack Obama's 4 candidates for the next Supreme Court judge. That's right. One of the 9 most important judges in the country. By this time, finally, there were 2 women justices. Sonia's rivals for the job were all women, so one way or another, a 3rd woman was about to join the court. But being on the Supreme Court would be stressful. She'd be famous and lose her privacy, and her workload would be more ginormous than ever. Part of her wanted to withdraw from consideration. What? A close friend pointed out how Sonia had always lacked role models. Now she could change that for those following her. She stayed in the running. A team from the White House checked her out from head to toe. They contacted her doctor and medical experts to see if diabetes would affect her work. No. Insulin injections and careful monitoring had kept it under control for decades. Did she own anything that could cloud her judgment? No, she was never as wealthy as the people she had gone to school with, and she had no major investments, just a Greenwich Village condo. Was she really that hard to get along with? No. The team interviewed many of her co-workers and was assured this label was false. Okay so far, but did Sonia ever break the law? Well, she did have that parking ticket, and like everyone in New York City, she freely admitted to jaywalking, but these weren't enough to count against her. On May 26, 2009, the president himself called her in New York. She was his pick. She kept one hand on her chest, trying to stay calm. She left for Washington immediately. She worked on her acceptance speech in the car, delivering it after only 3 hours of sleep. Her mother was with her, wiping away tears as the president announced the historic nomination. In July, she faced 4 solid days of piercing questions from a Senate committee. They had to make sure she was Supreme Court worthy. Probably her biggest hurdle was a comment she'd made about being a wise Latina. Senators wanted to know what this meant. I would hope that a wise Latina woman, with the richness of her experiences, would more often than not reach a better conclusion than a white male who hasn't lived that life. Was she a racist? Was she saying that she would favor women and minorities in her rulings? This isn't what justices are supposed to do. They're supposed to use the Constitution as their guide. Sonia assured the committee that she had the utmost respect for the Constitution. What she had meant was that she knew firsthand about prejudice and how it feels to be judged. She had lived through things other judges had not. She had a broader perspective on real life. The Senate gave its stamp of approval by a vote of 68 to 31. Sonia Sotomayor became only the 3rd woman and first Latino to sit on the highest court in the land. What did it feel like to make history? While taking the oath of office, she said, "I felt as if an electric current were coursing through me." Her first case hit her desk while she was still hiring 4 clerks and practicing baseball throwing 20 minutes a day. To her delight, she'd been invited to throw the first pitch at Yankee Stadium a few weeks later. On game day, she performed perfectly, beaming at the crowds cheering for her. Typically, she was scared to death her first day on the bench, in awe of her 8 companions. But she soon hit her stride. The justices often totally disagree, but she reported that in person we treat each other with respect and love. People with a legal issue like to threaten, "I'm going to take this case all the way to the Supreme Court." But the Supreme Court is extremely picky. It only accepts 1% of cases, the huge ones that come before it. The issues involve civil rights, censorship, freedom of religion, the death penalty, the rights of criminal suspects, and much more. Among her cases so far is one that reversed a lower court's ruling about immigration. On another case, the court decided that corporations can spend money to support or oppose political candidates. She also ruled on a case that upheld the Affordable Care Act, which provides Americans with health insurance. Her hope was to write opinions that will last the ages. Plus, being a role model, I would like there to be no child in America who grows up not knowing what the Supreme Court is. A bunch of Muppets from Sesame Street hang out in Sonia's chambers. Pretending to be a princess is fun, but it is definitely not a career, she once told the show's viewers. Instead, she suggested, you can go to school and train to be a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, and even a scientist. Or a judge. The end. Thanks for reading with me.